Welcome, everyone, to TechDaily.ai. I'm David, and joining me today is our expert, Sophia.
Hey, it is so great to be here.
You can sponsor this podcast for just $25. Your message will be featured across major platforms like Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and more. If you're interested, visit TechDaily.ai to get started today.
It really is a fantastic opportunity, honestly.
It totally is. Well, let's just jump right into things. I want you to imagine for a second spending millions of dollars upgrading a perfectly reliable, heavy-duty farm tractor.
Okay, a tractor, I'm with you.
Right, so you want it to perform better. But instead of, upgrading the engine or optimizing the plow, you bolt this massive aerodynamic carbon fiber racing spoiler onto the back of it.
Oh, wow, on a tractor.
Exactly. And you step back, you take a glossy photo, you slap them on the front of a brochure, but then you take it out to the field and it still just drives like 4 miles an hour in the thick mud.
Because it's still a tractor at the end of the day.
Right. And right now, that is exactly what a massive portion of the software industry is doing with artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
We're looking at this intense, almost overwhelming pressure to just slap the label AI-powered onto absolutely every product imaginable.
Yeah, overnight it feels like every single landing page, every demo deck, every pricing tier suddenly has those two magic letters attached to it.
It really does. So our mission today is to cut through that exact hype. We really need to answer the question that so many software companies and executives are frankly terrified to ask.
Which is, how do you know if a product actually needs AI in the first place?
Exactly. Because slapping it on just because the underlying tech is fascinating, or because your competitor just launched a chatbot, it creates this really dangerous illusion of innovation.
Right, and if the AI doesn't fundamentally solve a painful problem for the user better than the existing product already does, then it is purely just expensive decoration.
Just a racing spoiler on a tractor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the environment driving this frenzy is incredibly intense right now. I mean, if you are a product manager or a founder or even an enterprise buyer listening to this, you are probably feeling this pressure cooker firsthand.
Oh, absolutely. You've got sales teams claiming they're losing deals because they don't have like a shiny AI feature to show off on calls.
Yeah, and you have investors demanding these comprehensive AI strategies at every single quarterly board meeting.
And the customers are bombarded with headlines about generative models every single day. So they're asking, why does your software look exactly the same as it did a year ago?
It creates this massive fear of missing out. And that FOMO is mutating into a very specific, very dangerous confusion inside organizations.
What kind of confusion?
Well, companies are starting to treat AI as a strategy rather than what it actually is, which is a capability.
Yes. I see companies literally listing implement AI right next to their quarterly revenue targets or market expansion goals. And it drives me absolutely crazy.
Because it doesn't make any sense.
Right. A strategy defines the market you are going after. It defines the specific problem you're solving for your customer, the outcome you want to create, and exactly why that customer should choose your solution over a competitor's.
Right. The strategy is the what and the why.
Exactly. AI is not a goal. It is merely a tool to achieve a goal. It is just the how.
And when a capability becomes the headline before the actual strategy is clear, you get what is basically AI theater.
AI theater. I like that term.
Yeah, the entire product vision just starts to drift. Development roadmaps suddenly get crowded with these random, completely disconnected generative chat features that literally no one asked for.
And the marketing team starts blasting out this grandiose language about, revolutionizing workflows, right? When the software's architecture fundamentally cannot even support that.
Oh, exactly. And then the customer success teams are the ones left holding the bag.
Oh, they always are.
They really are. They have to jump on calls with frustrated users to explain how to use these shiny new features that ultimately do absolutely nothing to help that user finish their day-to-day work.
Going right back to that tractor spoiler analogy, it looks fast. It might even look incredibly exciting to the executive who ordered the engineering team to build it.
But it doesn't change the underlying mechanics of the value being delivered. It's a total illusion.
So how do we get out of that trap? Because slapping AI on for the sake of it is clearly a mistake. What does a good starting point actually look like?
Well, instead of asking that incredibly broad, unhelpful question of, should we add AI, the question that actually grounds the conversation in reality is, where does our product currently create friction or delay or confusion or manual work for our user?
Okay, so start with the customer's pain, not the shiny tech demo.
Exactly. That shifting questioning forces you to look at the mechanics of the machine you've built rather than just bolting decorations onto the outside. It moves the tech entirely out of the hype category and firmly into the execution category.
But figuring out where that friction exists is really only half the battle, right? Because not all friction actually requires an AI solution.
No, definitely not.
The actual meaningful opportunities, the ones that aren't just theater,
Yeah.
sit at the exact intersection of three very specific things:
Yeah.
judgment, pattern, and repetition.
Yes, the triad of useful AI. This is a phenomenal framework for evaluating whether a feature actually deserves to be built.
Let's break that down a bit. What does that actually look like in practice?
Okay, let's look at a practical, real-world example. Imagine a piece of software used for customer relationship management, right? A CRM.
The central database where a company tracks every interaction.
Exactly. Email threads, purchase history, support tickets, all of it. A highly valuable use of AI in that system would be identifying at-risk accounts before they cancel their contracts.
Okay, so that hits the pattern part of the triad, right? Identifying those at-risk accounts requires immense pattern recognition.
Immense. The system has to look at a massive volume of data across all that CRM history.
Right, like looking for product usage dropping off over a 3-week period, or analyzing the semantic sentiment of the customer's emails to see if they're getting more frustrated.
Yeah, and then it cross-references that with, say, the frequency of support tickets spiking right around the renewal date.
Got it. And then where does the judgment piece come in?
Well, then it applies contextual judgment. Instead of a human account manager spending hours manually piecing together those scattered breadcrumbs across 5 different dashboards, the AI synthesizes that context to proactively flag the account.
That makes total sense.
Or take a tool that helps sales teams draft complex business proposals. Instead of the salesperson starting from a blank page every single time, the AI drafts the initial sections based on that exact same CRM data, the specific industry of the client, the current stage of the deal, and the precise language that successfully won similar deals in the past.
Right, but wait, hold on. I want to push back on the repetition part of that triad for a second.
Okay, go for it.
Because if I am a user and my daily friction is just doing the exact same manual click sequence 5 times a day,
Right.
like, say, downloading a specific CSV file, renaming it with today's date, and moving it to a designated cloud folder,
Right.
we absolutely do not need a complex, computationally expensive language model to handle that.
I mean, isn't that what basic old school software automation has been solving for over 20 years?
You are entirely correct. Repetition alone absolutely does not require AI.
Right.
If a task happens the exact same way with the exact same variables every single time, you just need a rigid rule. You need a workflow template or a simple if this then that script. Traditional software is phenomenal at handling absolute certainties.
The problem, though, is that traditional automation is incredibly brittle.
So brittle.
Like, if a variable changes even slightly, say the file you're downloading has a slightly different naming convention today, or the column headers in the CSV are just swapped, the entire script fails. The automation just crashes because it doesn't know how to adapt. And that is precisely where the underlying mechanics of modern AI change the game. Because traditional software relies on exact, rigid matches. Modern AI models, on the other hand, rely on semantic meaning.
Meaning they actually understand what they're looking at.
Right. Under the hood, these models use mathematical structures called vector embeddings to map the relationships between different concepts. So instead of looking for an exact character match like a traditional database query, the AI understands the intent and the context of the data.
It can handle the fuzziness of the real world.
Exactly. If the system needs to essentially read the room and interpret messy, unstructured data before it decides what the next step should be, well, traditional automation breaks.
But AI can handle it.
Yes, AI can handle that ambiguity, apply judgment based on historical patterns, and execute the repeating task dynamically, even if the inputs look a little different every single time.
Okay, so you found a task that actually requires that contextual judgment. But even if an AI perfectly executes that judgment and pattern recognition, it's completely useless if the user doesn't actually care about that specific task.
Right, which brings us to the adoption illusion and the core promise of the product itself.
Every single piece of software makes a core promise to its user. Maybe the promise is saving them 10 hours a week of manual data entry.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's reducing their exposure to legal risk. Or maybe it's uncovering hidden sales revenue.
Whatever it is, any AI feature you build must make this specific promise more true.
If it sits outside of this core promise, it's just an engineering distraction.
Completely. It creates a massive disconnect between what the software was bought to do and what it is suddenly trying to do.
Okay, think of it like going to a high-end steakhouse. You walk in for an amazing meal, but they offer you a free, high-tech haircut with your steak.
A haircut at a steakhouse.
Right. It's a fascinating feature, and maybe it demos really well on a commercial. But it fades after a week because it has absolutely nothing to do with why the customer walked through the door in the first place.
That is a hilarious but totally accurate analogy.
Yeah.
The adoption illusion happens because builders misunderstand the massive gap between user curiosity and actual user behavior.
People say they want things they don't actually use.
Exactly. A customer might tell your sales rep they absolutely want AI features. They might even mandate it on a software procurement checklist because their department head told them they need to be, forward thinking.
Right, buzzwords.
But that does not mean they will actually change their entrenched daily workflow to adopt it once they log in.
They will play with that steakhouse haircut machine for one afternoon, realize they're just there for the food, and never touch it again.
Yes. To validate that user behavior will actually match their stated curiosity, software teams have to look for the invisible signals of friction.
Like what kind of signals?
You have to ask, are your users currently designing manual workarounds to accomplish a task? Are they constantly exporting your application's data into spreadsheets just so they can manipulate it?
Oh, I see that all the time.
Or are they copying and pasting large blocks of text from your software into a separate browser window with ChatGPT, just to summarize it?
Or are your customer support teams repeatedly answering the exact same question, like, what does this specific financial report actually mean for my business?
Exactly. When you observe those actual organic behaviors, you know there is a genuine, validated need for contextual judgment.
It proves the user is already trying to solve the problem, and they just lack the tools within your platform to do it efficiently.
Okay, so let's assume all the stars align. The AI feature perfectly served the core promise of the software. You've validated through user behavior that they genuinely need it, and it fits our triad of judgment, pattern, and repetition.
Okay, sounds perfect.
You build the feature, you launch it to your user base, and it still completely crashes and burns.
Wait, why? We did everything right.
Because of the unsexy and often totally ignored reality of data hygiene.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about the actual data layer powering these tools, because I think a lot of executives and end users alike assume an AI model is like a magic wand.
Oh, they definitely do.
They think, our company's data is a messy, completely disorganized room. But we'll just buy this advanced enterprise AI, and it will magically fold the laundry and organize the room for us.
Doesn't work like that.
Not at all. That is not how large language models work.
Yeah.
AI isn't a magic wand. It acts way more like a high-powered blacklight.
Oh, wow. That is a perfect way to describe it.
It doesn't fix your poor data discipline.
Yeah.
It aggressively, and sometimes really embarrassingly, exposes it. You flip on that AI blacklight, and suddenly every single stain, every piece of duct tape, and every flaw in your back-end data architecture is glowing brightly in the dark for all your customers to see.
We see this exact scenario play out with catastrophic results when companies try to rush implementations before their data is clean.
Give me an example.
Consider a very real situation where a major software provider launched an internal AI chatbot for their enterprise clients. The goal was fantastic. Let employees use natural language to query their own company's complex financial data.
Sounds useful.
It does, but the underlying data architecture, specifically the permission structures defining who was legally allowed to see what data, was a complete mess of legacy code and manual, undocumented overrides.
Oh no, I can see exactly where this is going.
They flipped on the AI blacklight. Modern AI relies on a process called retrieval augmented generation, right? Before the AI writes an answer, it searches the company's databases to retrieve the relevant context.
And because the permissions were broken.
Because the underlying permission silos were broken, the retrieval system just pulled everything.
Oh my God.
Suddenly, junior employees were asking the chatbot basic budget questions, and the AI was confidently summarizing the private salaries of the entire executive leadership team.
That is an absolute security nightmare.
And it gets worse. Because their historical financial data was duplicated and formatted inconsistently across different legacy databases, the AI would retrieve conflicting numbers.
So it didn't even know which number was right.
Right. It would try to synthesize them and end up hallucinating wildly incorrect quarterly revenue figures, presenting them to users as absolute facts.
It took disorganized, neglected data and confidently weaponized it. And in business software, trust is not just a nice-to-have feature. Trust is the product.
Exactly.
When an AI guesses wrong in a high-stakes business context or exposes sensitive corporate data because the underlying hygiene is poor, it instantly destroys user trust. And once you lose trust in a software platform, getting it back is nearly impossible. Users will just go right back to their spreadsheets.
So if bad data architecture breaks trust and AI theater ignores the core promise of the product, how do we know when someone has actually gotten it right?
Bringing all these elements together, the careful execution of strategy over capability, the triad of judgment, the strict alignment with the core promise, and the rigorous cleaning of data.
What does the final result actually feel like to the person using the software?
I think the most successful AI implementations I've seen, they don't feel like gimmicks. They don't force the user to open a completely separate, disconnected chat window,
Yeah.
interrupt their workflow, and type out a highly engineered prompt just to get a simple answer.
No, the best AI feels completely obvious.
Yes, it becomes invisible.
Instead of a flashy chat interface, maybe it's just a button that says draft reply that perfectly understands the context of the project you're viewing. Or it's a predictive autocomplete in a data field that accurately anticipates the next step of your specific workflow.
It naturally reduces steps within the environment the user is already operating in, because ultimately, customers do not buy artificial intelligence.
No, they don't.
They buy progress. They buy the ability to get their specific job done faster, clearer, and smarter.
And if a product isn't ready for AI, maybe the data architecture is a mess, or the core value proposition is still confusing to the users, then the disciplined, strategic move is to hold off.
You don't just bolt it on.
No. Fix the core product first. Sharpen the workflow. Clarify the value. Earn the right to add AI later when the foundation can actually support the weight of the technology.
Earn the right to add AI. That is a massive takeaway for anyone building, buying, or even just using software today. So I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you navigate your week.
Let's hear it.
Take a mental inventory of the software applications you use every single day to do your job. If you went in and stripped away the shiny AI-powered labels and you completely removed those newly added generative chat features, how many of those tools would actually lose their core value to you?
That is a tough question for a lot of tools.
Are you truly relying on the tool because the AI is fundamentally changing how efficiently you work? Or are you just hoping the shiny new technology distracts you from a broken furnace that wasn't heating the house in the first place?
It is a profound question, and it's one that completely separates the tools we actually need to succeed from the noise we can safely ignore.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you spending your time with us, and we look forward to exploring more fascinating topics with you next time.